This conference will now be recorded.
Next week.
Yeah, it's 8
It
days.
doesn't say that.
Well, that's because you're not
Yeah.
push.
That's true.
Okay, we'll go ahead and get the meeting started. The Public Safety Committee meeting agenda. Thank you everyone for joining us. Mr. Matthews, please call the roll.
Counselor Halverson.
Here.
Counselor Marujo. Here. Counselor Moore. Counselor Chapel.
Here.
Counselor Arnold.
Here.
Have a forum.
Thank you. Okay, I would entertain if you guys want to do a motion to approve the agenda in the minutes from the last. So moved.
Second.
Okay, motion, any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion passes. Thank you very much. The first regular item we had, I know Counselor Arnold had a problem with the way people can report, not a problem, but just concern about the way people report noise ordinance. So,
Actually, a constituent was, after we voted it in, then was trying to figure out how we're going to go about addressing noise issues. They had a recording, and so basically, I think we kind of had a discussion with Chad, Mike, Hess, and some others made suggestions of, and I think actually Bateman, of actually attaching it with the fix-it form. So that we wanted to discuss what it would look like, kind of go through that.
okay, because I know, Mr. Matthews, you did this right.
So, Madam Chair and members of the committee, I did include, printed off the fix-it form. And on the back page of it, you'll notice there is a box of noise nuisance for a person to submit it. But if there's something in addition to this or something different, we're be glad to entertain any recommendations. Currently, this is what we have on our website for citizens to notify us of issues going on in the community. So we're open for any direction or discussion.
Who, Madam Chair, who actually follows up on the fix-it forms? If it were to have, someone were to come in and just specifically mark noise ordinance, how would that get delegated and who would it be delegated to?
So our public relations department receives these. It comes to their email every day. And so as they get them, then they send them out. So if it's a noise ordinance or something, I would see they would send it to the police department, and code enforcement would receive copies of it. I am CC'd on a lot of the forms, but not all of them, but many of them I'm CC'd. So I would say public safety ones get copied on them also. To follow up on.
I think it's a good idea to be consistent. We are already using the fix-it form, and I know people are actually using it, and then there's also staff members that are actually following up.
Yeah, and I agree. And if it's an immediate problem, then they call the police department, right? I know it's a low priority call because nobody's life's in danger or anything, but.
And Madam Chair, I know the fix-it form has been very effective, especially with our street department, receiving complaints of stop signs down, things like that. We get notified quickly, the superintendent then can address that issue immediately. So I know it's been effective. I wasn't sure, that's why I included it in your packet, that it had noise on there, and it did when I pulled it up. So I was pleased to see that. And but like I said, we're open for any suggestions or.
So can we advertise as far as like specifically here on the fact that we just updated our noise ordinance, or, and then this is how you actually.
Issue or file a complaint. Or
Correct.
Get
Yeah,
ready to
because
attention.
that was the big question the constituent had is, okay, so now what? What is it you do?
Yeah. One thing I would add to this off the noise ordinance, but there's no dead animal that I can see on here. When somebody sees a dead animal.
Yeah, it's not an all-inclusive, so it varies if they click check other and then
Oh,
load
okay,
it
then they
load
could-
it in
yeah,
the
that'll
description,
work.
a brief description of a deceased animal
Okay.
at Second Main, and
That'll work.
that way we could get it to the right department. Solves it. What we found that this helps is getting it to the right department, so it's not being sent to the street department or
Yeah.
dead animal.
Yeah.
Sent to the street department, and they see it in the afternoon when they get back into their office.
One-
It's sent out
Yeah.
to the appropriate department to start with.
Well, that's good not to send it to all departments and they stop looking at it.
Yeah.
Because they're just overwhelmed with them.
And we can definitely make sure our public relations hits the PSAs and stuff on the form and all what it includes.
Be good. Any questions from anyone else on the committee? Well, let's note Counselor Moore showed up today. Thank you, Ms. Moore. So she's in, I guess you have to mark her. Okay. Any questions in on the noise ordinance from the committee? Okay. There's no action to take on it, just, yeah, if we can get the marketing department to do it. Okay, let's move on to the non-action items, the massage parlor discussion.
I was just asked to place this on the agenda. I know we got Mr. De Los Santos here, of course, the police chief. I'm not sure what all the questions were.
That was more.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think this was.
This is broad this month.
Yeah.
So on the massage parlor, there's a little bit of history that goes on with this. This was actually brought up in 2022. And some of the thoughts behind what was presented were that we would rather have more of a criminal aspect or a different approach to, instead of just requiring every massage therapist in town to have a license. And so at that time, it was kind of pushed back until we had some actual evidence proof or something that was coming about. And so once the massage parlors here recently were looked at by Agent De Los Santos, then I reached out to him and asked him to come talk to us because his viewpoint on how we can assist with in a regulatory manner is probably he's the best one we could hear it from. So,
So what you're trying to avoid is like sex trafficking and stuff, correct? Or
not necessarily, I mean, no, I'm not promoting sex trafficking.
no, I mean, you're trying to avoid, yeah.
But I'm trying to, no, that's not it. It's just basically, we want them to know we're watching.
Okay,
And that's what it's about. You know, I think all agencies working together in any way that we can assist is kind of really what the key is. If there's some inappropriate behavior going on in our community, then we need to address it, but we didn't really have proof. Number one, I've never even been in one. So please.
Sure. Well, good afternoon, everybody. For those of you that don't know me, my name is David De Los Santos. I'm a special agent with the FBI here in Roswell. I've been here for about 5 years. I've been an FBI agent for about 19 years. When I was asked to come talk about this, I have presented before the council before. These type of cases were first brought to us in 2018. When we started looking at them, we identified in the southeastern part of the state of New Mexico about 26 parlors that were identified. That number has exponentially grown, as you guys could tell. What we were looking at is the human trafficking, sex trafficking, money laundering, and the physical and sexual assaults of the actual massage parlor employees. These females, what we learned was these females were brought into the United States. Mainly Asian females were brought into the United States under a false pretense. And then they were brought into these locations and forced to promote sex acts from these locations. These women are frequently moved from location to location, so it's hard to get an idea of which women are at which location because they move them and they do that on purpose, so they don't have an idea of where they're at. So that's all. This is intentional. Obviously, they're minimal English speaking. They use a phone app to communicate with anybody that comes in, to include the patrons, law enforcement, the fire department, anybody that comes in, they use a phone app. Recently, what happened was the FBI was involved in an investigation out of Dallas. Their investigation led to some of the parlors here in New Mexico, which prompted a couple of search warrants. We already knew exactly what was going on. It was just, there was some technicalities on our investigation on our side, but we were glad that Dallas came in. We ended up doing search warrants on 2 locations. In Roswell, 5 locations total. We did 2 in Carlsbad, one in Clovis, and 2 in Roswell. We seized about $250,000 in cash. We made 2 arrests. Those 2 arrests are not massage parlor employees or the women that are giving the masseuses. They are actually the organizers, these ring organizers that we identified. We had already had one of them identified way back in 2018. So it was a real big success for us to be able to actually lay charges on them. So the living conditions inside these massage parlors, so these women are actually living in these massage parlors. So they're forced to live there. Their only source of income is the tips that they get above and beyond what the cost of the, and I'm going to do quotation mark, the massages. Most of these massages end with a happy ending. Women are generally not allowed in the massage parlor. So if you're a woman and you walk in there, they'll escort you out right away or tell you to leave right away. Some of the things that we noticed, obviously, is every one of these massage parlors that we hit are, I want to say fortified, but it's not very well. So they've got a steel door to protect the employees from the patrons. So you have to press a button to go in there. Any legitimate business is obviously not going to have stuff like that. The other thing is they were hours of operation, 24 hours a day. Anybody that has a need or a want for a massage in a regular environment obviously is going to get it in between 7 and 7, let's say. These massage parlors get most of their business around lunchtime, and then obviously after it becomes dark. So we had a great success. Again, I emphasize that we located and seized just shy of $250,000 just from those 5 locations. So this is a multi-billion-dollar industry, but I will tell you that the solution is not going to be exclusive to law enforcement. It's not going to happen. If you're going to wait for the FBI or for the police department to take action on this to resolve the problem, then it's never going to happen. As most of you know, and most everybody online knows, everybody in the city of Roswell knows what's going on at these massage parlors. Everybody. So it's not like it's hidden. These people are doing exactly what they're doing in the eye of the public. Everybody knows what's going on. So what we've done is we've basically come up with a couple of ideas, just so you know, a couple of costs. So if you go in there, a massage starts at $60 roughly, and then the price goes all the way up to $200, maybe even more sometimes, depending on what they want. Again, this is all communicated through translation applications, so there's really not a whole lot of conversation that's going on. So one of or some of the solutions that we've thought about, and it's not me, so I'm not taking credit for any of this. I'm just telling you, FBI nationwide, what we've done is we've partnered with the cities and talking to them about business licenses, inspections and enforcement, city code, again, inspections and enforcement, fire code, inspection and enforcement, city ordinances that were generated. So I'm not asking you to redevelop the wheel. You can go online and in 5 minutes this afternoon, I went online and I found about 10 different cities that have already drafted ordinances because they're all dealing with the same thing that we are. State statutes, obviously, those would be enforced by law enforcement. And on the federal side, like I said, there is federal money laundering, there's federal human trafficking charges that we can bring. But I'm telling you, the most success that the cities are having across the country is going to be the administrative stuff. And what it is it's not harassment. It's basically identifying some of the rules and regulations that they may may not be abiding to and enforcing those. So I'm not telling you to, again, to reinvent the wheel, but I will tell you, if you want to know a little bit more about this, just go online and look at what some of the other cities have done. And again, because there's no reason to reinvent the wheel here. What happens is these cities that have had success have started to enforce some of these, again, city code, city ordinances, fire ordinances, whatever. Some of these women live in, if it's a zoned commercial area, they're actually living in the business. And I know that in some places, I'm not sure if it's here, but if it's a commercially zoned area, you can't be living in that facility. We know that they're living there. Again, I can't tell you a whole lot about the case because it's still ongoing, but I'll tell you again that that's what we've seen nationwide, where cities, and again, I'm a city of Roswell here. I'm a patron here. I'm not a patron, but I'm an employee of Roswell. I live here, I work here, I buy my groceries here. So I'm here, I'm not leaving. I've been here all my life, most of my life, with the exception of a couple of years that I was in Washington, D.C. So I'll tell you that the best way to handle this is going to be coming up with ordinances that we can enforce. And again, it's not just coming up with an ordinance, because I got on the City of Roswell website today and there's hundreds of ordinances, it looks like. This would be an ordinance that we enact, that you guys enact, and then it's actually enforced. And that pressure, what happens is these people that are organizing that, they will move these locations to other cities where they're not being pressured as much. And that's kind of why we have so many in Roswell. And I think, Chief, I don't know, do you know how many we have here? I think that we're 10 plus in Roswell. Yeah. So that's kind of, Chief, do you know right offhand?
Probably about close.
Yeah. So, and it's going on. And again, so one of the other, and I'll finish with this and I'll take any questions that I can try to answer without going into specific details of the case. But the one of the locations that we hit was the location behind Peter Piper Pizza. When we hit the location, we had employees from some of the local businesses come out and applaud local law enforcement. They know what's going on. They're waiting for law enforcement to take action. But I'm telling you, if you guys are going to sit and wait for law enforcement to take action on these, it's never going to happen. It's very difficult to do these. And like I said, that's why I say that we need to focus on them with some of the local ordinances. That's where cities across the country are having success.
Okay, well, thank you. Thank you for coming. Appreciate that. It's good information. I did have some questions. So what would the ordinance exactly say? Because if they get a business license and they go in there and inspect the city code or the fire, they inspect the place, it's clean, and then they leave, what's to stop them from moving the women back in?
So I can't, and I won't even begin to tell you what the ordinance would say, right? That's why I say that somebody needs to start doing some research, and it's not difficult. In 5 minutes on Google, if you just type in ordinances against massage parlors, 500 items popped up. Okay. And there's guidances and of stuff that you can look at.
Did Jason Perry had you look at some too?
Yeah, so the core issue with, I got a question. The core enforcement problem of his was pretty much unlimited searches, and there are limits to the administrative search.
Yeah.
So I mean, at this point, like, we already enforced the building code against them, we already enforced the fire code against them. The only real substantive change to the city ordinances that I think would make a big difference, because we only have petty misdemeanor power, is to add these type of building violations to our condemnation code. Because my view is that as somebody who's a part of the second oldest profession, the oldest profession is always going to have clients, but they need a building to rent out of. And so if building owners know the city will go after and condemn their property as a nuisance, Councilor Perry flatly rejected that because he didn't want to go after building owners who very innocently wouldn't know what's going on, of course. And that's what killed the legislation.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, did you end up charging 8 USC 1324 or 22?
So they charged,
90?
yeah, they charged them. I don't know what the codes are, but they charged them with human trafficking and money laundering.
Okay,
we were actually able to trace that money going all the way back to China.
All right, yeah. So you got them under the forced product coercion provision, or?
Well, again, money laundering and the human trafficking is what the two major charges were that they charged them with.
Yes, Ms. Anna.
So it was basically, because I recognize that we have the various ones that we can hit them with, but I actually think it makes a profound statement when you actually take the advice that Hess just gave us as far as extending it out. If you know that it is, you know, you can be penalized at the building
Yeah.
and call it the massage parlor. And I agree, we need to, of course, take some concepts from other cities. But for me, it was kind of my plan to hear what he had to say, and then to bring something to work on it this next month and bring something the next time. Councilman Hildenbrandt and I were part of Councilman Perry's team, meeting, and his approach, I just didn't agree with his approach, but we do need to do something. And it is my thought that also if we have strategic, hits over the year consistently, there again, like he says, they will move.
Yeah.
And so just, coming up, I don't know how our admin would set that up where it's, or how they go about looking at code, but having strategic strikes, certain, not designated, but at the same time, just where it's consistent, because everyone knows, and everyone knows that no one is, doing anything.
What does the other cities that have massage parlors in their code, do they have specific, like, here, if you want to open a cannabis shop, you have certain rules you have to follow. Can we do that with massage parlors?
Yeah, so that you would have to be through the.
Okay.
Specifics.
Yeah.
So, and yeah,
Yeah, and the issue there became, did you want to, for the sake of a few bad actors, do you want to swallow the entire group?
Yeah, that's where, like you were talking, I don't think we can license every masseuse. I don't know, but I just.
Well, and the other part was so like reflexology is not part of the massage.
Right.
It's not massage.
So then just change what they do, the change the name.
Right, so we'd actually have to start regulating something. If we wanted to do a full regulation in the licensing scheme, we have expertise problems, which is why we kind of generically trust the state to do massage license.
that was his approach, and it was, and I mean, every massage therapist, because there are some of the young girls in there do not actually have, it's under one person. And so, I mean, while it actually sounds efficient, but it also infringes upon the rights of other people.
Yeah.
Who are just reflexologists. So, I mean, like legitimate business people.
Yes, ma'am.
So if we do ordinances, I'm kind of like, how do you follow up and stay on it? Who would be responsible for, every time somebody said something, it could be not somebody from us, but some citizen that came in and said, because let me tell you a quick little story, y'all won't even believe.
Okay.
My boyfriend was in town and he wanted a massage. So we go, and I didn't know the women couldn't go in. I went and they said, you have to wait outside. So he wanted to go see how much a massage was. And he said the lady was chasing him around. Did you have Indian? Did you have Indian? Did you have? And he's like, no, it smells weird in there. Something ain't right in there. We have a weird door in there. And I said, well, what do you do? But so what do you do if you see it? I can't come out and call? Who do I come out and call? Well, she wanted to give him a happy ending. I mean, who do you report to if you see something? That story, see something, say something. So who do you read? And the crazy thing is he went to 2 massage parlors and got the same result out of both massage parlors that can I give you a happy ending.
So let me
I
ask.
started going there with a pistol, but I was being good.
You're being a good girl. So is it actually, do we actually have ordinances that specifically say, I don't know that we've completely outlined what people can report or given people a reason to report it. Because, I mean, yes, prostitution is illegal, have no doubt in my mind.
Well, you have to look, is it legal?
Here's one that'll make you.
Oh,
The city ordinance for prostitution includes pretty much all forms of sex very expansively, except a manual. Whoever drafted that knew what they were.
I think what Agent De Los Santos is saying is not per se, correct me if I'm wrong, not, I mean, we know prostitution and stuff like that's illegal, but like I just looked up a town in Missouri. The way they wrote their ordinances, outside windows have to be transparent. No ATMs in business, stuff like that, that's gonna make those people that do illicit stuff, that's gonna make them uncomfortable and move on. There's not stuff, I mean, we're still gonna get the complaints if they're doing prostitution there. Now, on the law enforcement side, it's trying to prove that, but if you put in the city ordinance, windows have to be transparent. The door has to be, I think in this Missouri City, Missouri, wherever that is, the licensed therapists have to have their license visibly displayed, all of them at all times. No ATMs allowed on site. Doors to be unlocked during business hours and a peace officer to be granted access at all times during operating hours.
And we limit operating hours in our ordinance too?
We can limit, yeah, we can limit the operating.
That's what I was gonna ask him, can we limit it in our
I'm
ordinance?
not saying all those would fit, but I think it's the stuff to make them uncomfortable, transparent. You
exactly.
know, just coming up with different things on there. I don't think it's, I mean, who are they gonna call for prostitution?
Something you can.
Yeah.
They think somebody is gonna be law enforcement.
Well, that's the thing, if there's a call, if that's in the ordinance and somebody calls, then the officer has the right to go in there. Not just randomly.
A citizen can always report a crime. Okay? Like it's a-
That's why I was
Are we gonna put it on the fix-it ticket? You should have a happy ending. It's a ticket. Thank you.
So I think what we need to do, any more questions on the committee? I think I like, yeah, we can't stick our heads in the sand, pretend it's
I
not
think
happening.
there's one online.
Oh, okay. Any other questions?
Somebody online?
Does somebody online have a question?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, this is former Councilman Perry, and good to hear. I do, I do appreciate that y'all are taking this back up for sure. Just want to just give some clarification in some of this. When I started looking into the situation, as I had mentioned before, I had a mother that had approached me with a horrific story of the situation with her son. So we started moving in the direction. It just absolutely blew my mind that there was the possibility of human trafficking within Roswell. And I recognize, and Councilor Arnold, I agree with what she said. There were concerns that came from some of the other councilors concerning infringing on the rights of other, those who are trying to do it properly and correctly. So what I did, and what I would really highly encourage for y'all to do as well, is I went to the state board and started trying to speak with them, which led me to a gentleman. Unfortunately, he has passed away now. He was in a car accident coming back from Artesia, who was head of that school down in Artesia, the massage school there. And he was helping me significantly as far as from the state's portion of it, as to what the city could do and what would be fair and try not to infringe at all on those who are trying to practice correctly. So I realized that what I had was not sufficient to gain the whole support from the council, but I did want to correct that. I heard the attorney say that when other possibilities were mentioned to me, that I absolutely rejected those. That I just want to correct that. I have all of the communications that I've taken back and forth where I requested some things in writing for different things, which never came to me. So at some point when those did not come forward, we just sort of had to just leave it until we could find a way to make that work. And of course, the Lord has sent me up here to Alaska now, but I do appreciate that y'all are looking at this, and I do hope for what's best, because I do still have children, and one day we'll have grandchildren in Roswell, and want to make sure it's as safe as possible. So I just appreciate and support what y'all are doing.
Thank you. Thank you, Jason. Okay, so I'm thinking, do you want to take this on?
Yeah.
If you would like to, trying to get an ordinance and maybe getting with Mr. De Los Santos. Yes.
we can And yeah,
coming up.
and that was kind of my idea, but I wanted to kind of present the whole concept behind it.
Any objections on the committee?
Mr. Chap?
No, okay.
Yeah, no, I'll have something.
Okay. So, you want to have a discussion first on it, but not have it as an action item and have it as a discussion item?
Well, what do you say? What we do is actually create like maybe present a draft
Yeah.
and then.
Yeah,
We'll work on the draft as a.
Yeah,
I agree.
Send it to.
yep. I think that'd be good.
Okay, I'll have that ready.
Thank you for coming and thank you for the information. All right, are you related to Eugene?
Junior or senior?
Still a son.
That's my dad.
Okay. Okay. Next item on, thank you very much, everyone. Next one is the discuss proposed ordinance amending chapter 4 of the animal control. Mr. Eisenmeyer, you want to cover this one? And just so you know, he's done this at my request. We've tried it in the past and
So, Frank, there's a couple things here that we're kind of cleaning this up. There were a couple drafting errors I wouldn't call them drafting errors, but we've clarified certain parts of the thing. There's two big parts of the code that I did want some more input for because I can't really draft them without you guys. But this part here, the definitions, we're just tightening them up. So there's nothing you really have to worry about. Wolf is lupus. So.
and I apologize, we didn't get
Fantastic, Mr. Fox.
the red line copy, that's why.
All right. We clarify some procedural stuff. I think it's kind of boring, frankly. Thank you for animal services for doing the drafting there. As we move on, we moved the vicious dog standard to match Albuquerque and Rio Rancho. That way there's actual case law, so we know what we're doing. Or I should say we knew what we were doing, but now it's easier for city prosecutions to move against it. In particular, so it's any domesticated animal. The core of the vicious standard is multiple sutures. So if an animal causes 2 stitches or more, that's going to be automatic dangerous before that. So if it's a puppy and it's learning and it bites you and there's just punctures, you're probably not dealing with a vicious dog. So if it does anything worse than that, you're going to be in vicious dog territory. We're not animal control anymore, but animal services to a friendlier face. This is just tightening things up. Records, cruelty to animals, clarifying that it's for domestic. We're not trying to regulate livestock. It's in that regard because ownership of livestock is prohibited within the city limits anyway. Domesticate is just being put in throughout the document for consistency. So no, that. Wild and exotic animals. I think the nation really got brought together through Joe Exotic, but we thought we don't want those parks in here, so we're going to leave this as it is, unless you have a vocal concern about having tigers brought into the city limits. Nobody? Okay, well, I was. Yeah. All right. Okay. Public nuisances, we just clarified that the zoo and animal shelters are not going to be subject to the nuisance provision in this. Otherwise, the noise ordinance is going to cover most of your animal barking problems, or to cover all of them. Now,
When you go back to harboring, why did you take that out? Harboring dogs?
so it conflicts with.
It's in there later.
Yes, it's in there later, and then it conflicts with the CAP program. So we didn't want to, if it's the idea is we'd rather have one big tomcat that's fixed, clearing out a whole neighborhood as its territory, feed that one, because that's better than 40 kittens running around, unless you like kittens, but that's silly when puppies are an option.
Right. I'm with you.
All right, in any case, fines. We've increased the abandonment fine, and then the other thing we changed was, and this was something that I could not figure out why we did, that you would get multiple cruelty to animal offenses with escalating fines. So for us, it's the most we can do is $500 and 90 days. So we're saying minimum 500. The judge can assign jail time as appropriate. And also at the bottom, if you're convicted of abandonment, you would be prohibited from animal ownership for 5 years. Seems to us that if you abuse the privilege, then you don't need to do it again.
Okay, let's stop there. So I want to talk about the fines. So I'm going to hand these around. There's, I think, oh, you didn't get them. I'm sorry. They're in your packet. You can.
You don't have one.
I'm open to committee or public opinion about the fines, but I do have a problem with the advertising or selling without a permit. What do we, yeah, I think that should be much higher.
Yeah, and that one's highlighted. It's the idea here, I mean, if somebody is a kennel club type and breeding show animals, that's one thing, but there are so many pups available for free.
That one I sent, I can keep a copy for myself, the puppy one. So this one was particularly on Facebook just this last week. I mean, somebody at Walmart selling puppies and the dogs have parvo. I mean, we've got a big problem. I don't know, how many puppies do you get a week? You just.
On average, I would say right now, since it's picking up with the kitten season, we've been getting in around 5 to 10 a week.
So, and how many did you say when the parvo outbreak?
During the parvo outbreak, we had about 78 parvo cases for the month of February through March.
So, I don't know, and Abby, I'm open to you or anyone else with the animals. I've got a real problem with people breeding animals, selling them in the parking lots. And I think it needs to hurt more than $25.
So my suggestion here is to fold it into the licensing, business licensing. I think that's probably the way to do it. And this is something.
So they're selling dogs without a business license.
Right, so we'd actually create so to clarify, there's a thing called a business registration, which every business in the city has to do by state law. And then a business license is additional regulatory burden we can place on businesses in addition to a registration. And so that might be the way to do this, is if you are selling, if you're doing AKC dogs, you just need a permit. If you're going to engage in the business of selling animals in the city limits, you need a license.
So how would his animal control officers enforce that if, like, on a Saturday, they drive by Walmart and there's someone selling? Can his animal control officer issue a citation for that?
Yeah.
They don't have a license.
Yeah, if they don't have, we say, where's your license? And the other nice thing is if you're licensed and registered, you have to do it at one location.
Okay. Oh, so they can't go parking.
You're right, they can't go parking lot to parking lot and sell.
If that's the case, do they give him a ticket, a citation, and then they take the dogs away? Then he's got the puppies now, but I don't know, how do we handle that?
Yeah, the seizure is, I'd have to research further, but it depends if it breaks the 8 rule or not.
What's best friend?
I do think that I'm not too familiar with like breeding and selling and that. I can definitely get more information, resources for it. My concern is if we do implement this, it's going to be difficult to enforce as is with our current resources, staffing, and animal control. I know that, when we're made aware that there are people selling in Walmart, they're gone by the time we get there. And that's, and that's pretty common.
Yeah.
So, and we don't have enough staffing to have them surveillance Facebook posts, to really follow up on Facebook posts. So I'd say if we do implement something like this into the ordinance, we also have to look into, increasing staffing and resources so that they can expand on kind of keeping an eye on this.
Yes.
Are you the only one that can give citations, or can the PD issue citations on something like that?
I'm not.
It's whoever council gives authority. They can make it code enforcement, they can make it PD, they can make it animal welfare.
Well, at this point now, for like a dog, something like this, if the PD ran across them, could they give them?
Right. If they're driving and somebody's giving puppies away or selling them, they're driving by and they see them, can they give them a citation? If they do not have a permit.
Yeah, PD can.
The ordinance.
Yeah, the police officers can enforce any ordinance of the city. That's their blanket authority. So technically they could, yeah. They usually just don't touch on certain ones because the higher priority, right?
So I'm looking for input. I want to know what the public or any of you guys think on the
Madam
committee.
Chair.
Yes.
So one of the things we see is it's a lot easier path to go to one of these illegal behaviors and pay $50 than it is to go the path of adoption and pay $299 or whatever it is for staying there. So the fines could reflect some incentive to do the right thing instead of the wrong thing.
Well, that's what my goal was too, when like not getting your dog spayed or neutered. I was trying to make the fines higher than what it would cost to spay or neuter. The cost of spay or neuter is so outrageously high right now. It may affect the poorer people more unfairly. So I don't know. That's why I want to open this for discussion, because we have a problem in this town. It's not getting any better. And these people that are breeding, I think, I don't know, Abby, you may have an opinion, but I think they're some of the worst offenders, because that's one of the main reasons we have a problem.
I mean, and all the time we call animal control when we see them, selling puppies in the parking lot. But I agree with you. I mean, if it hurt quite a bit, $25 is not that they're going to at least get probably $50 a puppy, usually more.
Yeah.
But if it hurt a little more, maybe that would discourage them.
I mean, it's easy to throw 500 in there, and if the judge wants to reduce it, the judge can reduce it, but that can be the starting point.
Just put 543.
I mean, I guess for me, there's no reason to escalate this
I
one.
think that's too high.
I mean, if it's costing 300 to spay or neuter.
That's what I'm saying, for the first offense, 300, then 400, then 500.
I'll support that.
Yeah, okay. Start with 3.
Well, because that's how we stop. That's how we stop it, is we actually have to catch these people.
Yeah.
We have to, and I get it. We need more peace officers. And so for me to just say that that's what needs to be done is,
Well, and the city can promote it too. I saw a billboard. It was on one of the animal pages this last week. Showed an animal. I forgot what the words were on it, but it basically said, you don't get your animal fixed, you're going to get fined $500, if you breed.
yeah.
One of the things that I've noticed that is far more prevalent now, though, too, is that they don't sell them.
They do
They
the,
rehome them. So the rehoming, there's a rehoming fee.
Yeah.
Not selling them.
yeah,
I'm just recouping the food or whatever time.
it's an argument that,
So where does this ordinance?
I would say I'd say that's substantially the same as a sale price.
No, I agree. I see it that way.
you just say exchange of money, either
Just
way.
because I see it that way doesn't mean
Yeah.
if they decided into court that.
You wouldn't be able to argue it out.
Well, and if the judge says he doesn't see it that way, that's something we would take straight to the district court. And if the district court views it that way, then it's pretty easy to change the ordinance to match whatever the opinion is. I mean, that's how, law is nebulous in that way.
Do you want to go back up? Let's look at the other fees too.
Could I make a quick comment about that too? One thing too that I think ties into it is I do think the city has to look into coming up with resources for the community, because there is no affordable access to vet care in the city. It's very expensive, and there's no assistance for homeowners who have an accidental litter. And I think if you really want to make an impact, a long-lasting impact, the city has to implement some type of resources that are directed at low-income spay neuter, because right now there is no support, so they're not going to alter their pet because they're not going to pay $500 starting to alter the pet. And some of them just don't know the importance of altering their pet. It's, in the culture, it's in their,
So what are the legalities of taking some of the money from these fines and putting them into a fund that would pay for this, like assistance, low cost?
So by law, fines go into the general fund, so it would just have to be an allocation with each budget cycle.
But we can't allocate that.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't necessarily,
How do we go to the?
yeah, you just throw it in the budget.
Okay.
Just make it a line item in animal services budget to have spay and neuter clinics.
Do we decide to do that here in this meeting?
No, that would be a budget.
Well, I know, but I mean, would we bring it to the finance committee and then they bring it to the city council? I mean, how do we ask for that?
Oh, well, we're asking for that.
Okay, what percentage then of the fines do we want to put into it? a low-cost spay neuter clinic?
All of it? Oh, anything, I don't think anything
Any of
that
the
comes
fines?
from the animal control as far as those fines should go to, because that's something you and I've been talking about for 2 years.
Yeah.
Trying to figure out how to help people get funding.
Because we don't, at this point, as I understand it, we're not bringing in a lot of general fund money from fines from animal control.
Yeah, this is going to be a drop in the bucket compared to whatever line item you actually assigned. And if that,
So when we bring this to an actual action item, we can
Yeah.
bring that as an action item too.
Mhm.
Okay. Does anyone else have any questions or anything on any of the fines? Okay, and so what we're gonna do with item 9 is the first offense is 300, second offense is 400.
yes, you got that. I'm going to steal your written notes because this is not,
Okay.
this isn't on
Yeah.
master draft. All right. Livestock, you can have some of it, but not all of it. Kangaroos are still prohibited in the city limits. Yep, sorry, guys. No boxing matches with
So
the,
the chickens, where is it?
Well, it has to be a female chicken.
Where'd that go?
so on the 34, or 4-34, the amendment was proposed to have it be 6 chickens, 4 ducks, or 4 turkeys, or a combination thereof, for 4/10 of an acre. Chicken being feminine, ducks being male or female, turkeys being male or female.
So in your neighborhood, Ms. Moore, if they have roosters, it's not legal.
Now we're discriminating.
Yes.
Oh, I'm glad to see you.
When you started, how much better the world would be.
There were less of them.
And for those of you curious, we are not changing anything with Vietnamese pigs. They're adorable, delicious. I mean, good friends. Good friends. All right. Chickens is 4-34.
Okay.
This is going to be a little.
20.
Yeah. All right. Cats and dogs. So moving up from 5 to 8 for cats and dogs. From there, a domesticated standard. Here we're just clarifying it looks like a lot of red, but it's just clarifying that we're not going to have the animals fixed before 6 months because that would be mean.
I had a question number 4. So does that say every animal owner has to take and register their animal with animal services?
Responsible for the
Because the microchip, I think, covers that, but not really. It doesn't make them register with animal, but I don't think every person who owns a dog in Roswell is going to go register their dog with animal services.
Right.
Right, but that's defined as being registered in a way that we can.
But do we need number 4?
Responsible person registered.
No, not necessarily. We can get rid of 4 if you want.
Yeah, because I'm just thinking.
Yeah, no, right.
Yeah, that's
It's
crazy.
redundant to what? It just said that you certify that that they have their shots. That's just having a copy of their record. No, keep reading though, and provide. Oh, say and provide. Okay.
Yeah, but so when you get a dog and you get it fixed and everything, are you going to take all the paperwork to animal services, say, look, my dog's fixed? You know, and
Right,
rabies?
but what this is saying is you do it with us or you do it with whatever online.
Yeah, number
platform
5 does,
Yeah.
but number 4 doesn't. Am I reading that wrong?
No, this is, the animal is inoculated against rabies and altered. We don't have to do that.
Yeah. I mean, it's required in the ordinance to have them inoculated.
Right.
Law requires.
Right, but we don't have to tell them, they do not have, there's nothing in state law that requires us to get that documentation.
Well, the only time they should have to provide the documentation is if their dog gets picked up. And, you know, then animal control says, where's your documentation? Then they can prove it. But I'm just like, if I go, my dogs right now, they don't know what dogs I have.
I'm going
Yeah.
to take them down. That everybody has to take their animals down.
Yeah, I think it's not going to happen. If we put it in there, it's just not going to happen.
Yeah, so you got that marked on it.
Yeah. But number 5 is good, yeah.
Let's see. So additional care requirements, we've done some clarifying so there's already an anti-tethering rule, but we're just kind of
Tying them around.
tying it up. So no more than a 1/4 inch thick, tethers collars must not have weights, and no prong collars, no head harnesses. Dogs need at least 12 to 15 feet rope. Tether can't reach another dog that poses a risk to itself or strangulation, kind of anything a good dog owner would practice.
Did anyone have any questions on the tethering? Abby, I know that was one of the ones you were worried about.
I mean, it's good that they're gonna go ahead and put the swivel thing on there, but, I mean, that's just so hard to enforce. I mean, there's a dog right now that I keep bugging animal control about because the chain keeps getting all wound up or it gets wound around and, you know, you go out there and they say, well, oh yeah, that he just did that, but even though you're driving by all the time, you see it 24/7, it's just a hard one to enforce. I wish we didn't have to have them on chains at all, is what I wish, that we could just do away with chains and have a secure fenced yard. That's what would be ideal.
Any questions on committee on the tethering?
Yeah, I think that's a difficult one for sure, but I've also seen, like, they have a good fence and my neighbor, the dog jumped the fence with the broke his chain, jumped the fence and ate two of the neighbor's dogs next door. So it's kind of hard to, you know, the fence thing is one thing, you know, tethering, you know, I don't know. I don't like them to be tied up, you know, for a amount of time. Like even my little puppy, I had to tie it up on the porch just for a few minutes to go because I didn't want her to run out. And that bothered me, but everybody doesn't bother this. A good dog owner is not going to keep them out there, you know, too bad, but.
They do.
Yeah, but,
They do.
I know, but not too, you know.
Some of them
Have you
chains
seen
are so
some that
heavy.
chain? That's what I
Yeah,
was
they
just gonna
can't
say.
even
Have
pick
you
their
seen
head up.
some of the chains are so
But
big?
this will cover that.
It'll stop the amount of chain. I get that. Some of those dogs, some of them pit bulls that I see around my house, I don't think it's the chain, they need the big chain because they'll break it. They keep breaking it. So I guess it's like kind of like a catch-22. They're gonna have to fix their fence. That's what I'm at. Y'all want to have to do better with this fence because if they can't put that heavy chain on and hit some of those pit bulls, then.
Did you have anything more on the tethering?
No, I feel with the edits, I think it's as good as it's going to get. Because I think if we remove like no tethering, that's going to put, you know, a burden on an owner. So I need to have a fence. I need to have certain things to own a pet. And I think that's going to indirectly increase intakes. It's going to indirectly increase animals running at large. So I think with the edits, they're as best as I can get.
Okay, moving on.
Fine. Vicious dogs. For some reason, we were giving dogs the human criminal standard if they were vicious. I think it's more appropriate to have the civil standard applied to dogs. That's what everybody else does. I'm not sure how, beyond a reasonable doubt, if you want to get into law nerdery, it's because actions against dogs are actions in rem and are civil in nature, not actions in personam criminal in nature. Anywho, domesticated animal permits. So if you want to go above the 8 limits, you need to get a permit. The exception for that's going to be if you're fostering for a litter, because there might be more than 8 with mom and the kids. Breeding without a permit. Like I said, I think that if we're going to open up the licensing thing, then we ought to just fix the licensing thing. We've got a number of other businesses that create nuisances in the community, in addition to prostitution and a couple of other under-regulated industries, like an example being food trucks. Like we have zero regulation of them right now. And it's the complaint I get is that brick and mortar places have to pay a registration for one location. If they open another one, they pay another one. These food trucks just get to go around.
So does this mean if we do the licensing thing, that just anybody can apply for the license, right?
Well, there are rules attached to it,
Okay.
right?
I do know Letty from Best Friends, this was just a suggestion, if we wanted to, I don't know, how it wants these. I guess Purdue University runs this, if she says if you have 2 breeding females, you can require anyone who applies for a breeding license to register with Canine Care. I don't know if that's overkill or what, but that's just a suggestion too. Because we, at this point, we don't have a permit, right? We don't have any, the city requires it, but we don't have a permit.
Isn't there a permit? So how can we require to have one if
Then
there's
we don't
not
have
one
a
for them to go get?
Yeah, so if somebody wanted to breed and they say, I want a breeding permit,
There's that one.
poor Ramon's like, yeah.
Yeah, we don't actually. Well, so the issue is, if we're gonna prohibit an economic activity, so breeding animals, there has to be some cognizable legal standard for which we can deny it or give it to them, which is why I suggest we use the business licensing
You're
provision.
recommending we pull this out completely.
I'd say we pull it out with the understanding. I mean, the other option too is just say AKC breeding only, no other breeding's allowed in the city. We can prohibit it outright.
What's AKC?
Kennel Club.
Kennel Club,
Like if
but there's
somebody-
another one too.
But I think there's more than one, so.
Right, but if we could, yeah, we could make an actual list of, yeah, but so like, certain towns have just straight up banned the sale of animals in the city limits, period. And some have banned breeding.
I think that's why there's so many rescue animals, correct me if I'm wrong, going to Colorado, because I think Colorado does that.
Right, yeah, like.
Yeah.
That's exactly it. So yeah, if we wanted to clean out the pound, they can get
So-
it. Mhm.
We want to take this whole thing out and say you must have a business license to breed.
Right, but I wouldn't take it out until we have the business
Oh,
license
okay.
settled, and then we would remove this provision from the code
So
with the
at this
business
point, we
license.
can leave it in
Yeah,
there.
we'd leave it in
And
until,
maybe you can come up with a permit, I don't.
Yeah, I'll get with Leedy and Richard, best friends, and get more input.
Because we can put in there too, in the permit, only the registered facilities like AKC or not, but the organizations.
Sure.
Because I don't know how many there are.
There's like 10.
There's AKC, yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot.
But they have to be registered with that to obtain a breeder's permit. Yes, sir.
Madam Chair, and as you correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe in our current code, it says anybody conducting business within the city limits of Roswell shall have a business license
registration.
or registration. So that's already in the code. And so I
So
don't know what else we would have to place in there.
So there's two things. The business registration, everybody gets as a matter of course, so long as they pay the fee and have a tax ID number. A business license is when we put additional requirements upon that type of business that's being engaged
And
in.
that's where we're gonna have to change some information for the animals. So at this point, the police, I know it's a high priority for them. If they see someone selling dogs, they can go give them a ticket at this point for not having a business license or not a license, but permit.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, we'd probably prefer them to go through
animal control.
community development
Social
actually,
media.
for lack of registration.
Yeah, but by then they'll be gone too.
Yeah.
Like the same problem control or animal services has.
Oh, so like if I'm going down an alley and I see a mother dog with a litter of puppies in their backyard, and I call animal control and ask them to go check on that. So what would happen if you go out and you see that, and of course, they're not supposed to be breeding, what would you do then?
That's not breeding.
Yeah, what,
Yeah, it's breeding. But I mean,
Just
because
having
they
a
have
litter of
litter,
puppies.
but they don't have a permit.
That's breeding.
Would you ask, they have a permit?
Having the litter puppies breeding.
Yeah.
No, to me, it's breeding when you do it on purpose. I'm trying to have 8 puppies just so we can sell puppies or whatever. Like, so to me, breeding is a business. It's not just like the dog down the street comes and humps my puppy and she has.
That's
she has
a problem.
puppies.
That's your fault though. That's breeding. You need to-
I disagree. I think breeding is a business. So I guess I look at it, I understand it's having puppies.
Selling them, breeding and selling them, that's the business.
Well,
Having your dog not fixed and having them breed, they're breeding without a permit. It's breeding.
But when we wrote that other one on breeding,
Yeah,
it was
so breeding-
in the intent of
breeding,
they were doing it to make
so yeah, breeding is,
intentionally.
Here you go.
breeding is intentionally or unintentional.
Okay, because
It's in there. It's unintentionally
It
too.
does define.
Because this does happen a lot. And so, like, can you force them at that point to have the dog
Too much.
fixed? Either that or they will be fined.
yeah, and that's what I would caution against, because then we get down, like, there is no affordable access. This is going to impact like the poor communities who can't otherwise afford spay neuter. And I think approaching it this way might create a pretty bad standard for how to handle this.
If you give them a citation, they go to the judge and they get the dog fixed, he can defer the fine.
Mhm.
You could, but again, you have a pretty significant, population that lives.
Because this is where we're running into the problem.
Right.
Firsthand,
Right.
you see the puppies come in.
Right. I would say we should look at it from a different perspective. I think enforcement isn't going to solve it. You're not going to solve the core issue of this. I think you're going to increase more breeding. If you would allow me to look into more examples of how that looks like, and bring that up at the next meeting. But that's what I would say is I would recommend moving away from an enforcement perspective on handling this.
Yeah, because that and the selling of the puppies,
Yeah.
that's the major reason we have a problem here. So I need a really good reason why not fine them for that or cite them for that because, I mean,
Well, how about proving it's their dog if you see a litter? I mean, a dog with a litter of puppies in the backyard. We got so many people that are involved in rescues and stuff. If it wasn't their dog and they took in the puppies because they were abandoned or something,
yeah,
I mean, you're gonna have to prove that it was their dog and stuff. I don't know how.
yeah, it'd be difficult.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
Especially when you see them in my backyard. Why you over
That's
there
what he's
looking over
saying.
my fence? That's what I'm saying. Why you over there looking over my fence?
Well, I had one in the neighborhood, I had Ramon come out that we knew the dogs were out with the puppies all the time. The fence kept
So you
breaking.
knew.
And they were out constantly. And then now they're getting older, they were starting to attack the kids in the neighborhood. Well, getting real aggressive. They weren't attacking them, but they were getting real aggressive. But Ramon had them, or I guess Toby went out and had them fix their fence.
Confused, saying to move away from the enforcement of this.
Right. Because there is no access to affordable vacuum.
But if we
Community.
keep this in there and we make this where the fines go to a spay and neuter program, then they do have access.
Yeah, I think if we increase how many resources we provide citizens, put a focus on that, put a focus on education, really support citizens in altering their pets, then I think enforcement, you can use it hand in hand. But right now, there is no support being given to citizens.
That's why we have the problem we do.
Right.
It's because I'm with you, I'm for enforcement. I'm just,
Think the enforcement, or the lack of the enforcement is what's created us to have
the problem.
a controlled situation at the time.
Yeah.
But I don't know a solution to it, because you can't just say, okay, everybody that has a dog or a cat has to have a fence, because not everybody can afford that.
Yeah.
You can't tie the animals up. Not everybody can do that. I mean, I don't know the answer, but I don't think non-enforcing it is.
So I think the way I look at it is we cite them, they go to court. If they have the dog fixed, then he can do a deferment. That's up to the judge. But if we can take these fines, like we were talking, and put them to a low-cost spay or neuter clinic to help the public out with getting them fixed so they don't have that problem. But that's down the line. But for today, I think, that just probably needs to stay in there.
I got
Do you have something like?
head spinning. I got a question, Madam Chair, if
Yes.
you don't mind. This is kind of harsh. But if could we possibly put in verbiage, if you're caught, you can't afford to bring a pet up to code, it's considered abandonment. You can't have an animal for 5 years.
Wow.
You can't afford one. Burden should be put on the rest of the citizens.
Yeah, we
I
could,
know it's harsh.
it is.
We can work with it.
The answer is it's legally sufficient if you wanted to put that in, yes.
We have a lot of pet owners.
It's another two lots.
You'll have more dogs at the kennel. That's all it's gonna mean.
Yeah,
I want to highly recommend a goldfish. It's actually very doable. Because that's what I did. I'm kind of teetering on what you're saying there.
because, I'm afraid animal control is already overwhelmed. But
Right.
at this point, they're overwhelmed because we aren't enforcing any of these laws too. So there's,
Well, my comment too, it's not don't enforce, it's enforce, but also provide resources to the community. And also because going that approach isn't going to address the core. You're still going to have an issue. It's still going to continue. It's not going to stop the overpopulation continuing in the city.
He's not wrong in that, because we had the same thing with the ACLU and the homeless in certain aspects of that. As far as them using the restroom on our building, but if there's nowhere for them to use the restroom, or you can't relocate them. There is, if you're going to have stringent laws, you also have to have some form of support.
So Dr. Walker, I know he's doing the 4 fixes a month. Like if you run into a problem, like Abby was saying, could you throw one of those dogs? I know it'd probably be the death for another dog in the shelter, but maybe then, at this point, right now, until we can get something in place where there is a low-cost spay-neuter clinic. Yes, Mr. Matthews.
Madam Chair, and so I'm just going to dump a lot of stuff out here real quick. So on the enforcement side of it, obviously, people selling animals at Walmart and stuff, the police department can write citations for any ordinance. However, they're running call on people killing people.
Yeah.
So that's a really low priority call when it comes to the police department. At best, on a weekend, we'll have one animal control officer on duty and running call to call to call. Code enforcement, Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. And I want to do something. I've been working at this for too many years to just put my hands under me and say that's the best we can do. We can always do better. But just trying to figure it out. The big issue, and Ramon's absolutely right, availability to low-cost payer metering in the community. So a number of years ago, we actually opened up a position for a veterinarian on staff for the city of Roswell. We advertised, I sent the advertisements out to the University of Colorado. I can't remember the other names of the university that had vet schools in them at the time. We received one application. The problem was that young lady wasn't a veterinarian. And she's trying to fulfill an unemployment requirement to apply for the job. So I didn't get anybody for that position. Probably because we weren't offering enough to attract even a new vet to our community. A perfect scenario would be for us to have a staff veterinarian at the clinic, so when something was adopted, it's spay or neutered and then given to the new owners as animals come in. If they're not spay or neutered, we spay or neuter them. Hopefully their owners come in and retrieve them, and we get them out. If the officers or all 5 officers are out on the street today picking up every animal they run to, they might as well just drive them straight to the vet to be euthanized, because we're full all the time. Humane Society is full all the time, and people are just continuing to breed.
Yeah.
Or fail to have their pets spayed or neutered. So the problem's just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. We're not seeing a decrease, we're seeing an increase in animals in this community. So we got to have some tougher conversations, I believe, when it comes to what are we going to do to address this issue, and figure out, and get some flavors, because a lot of people can't afford the cost of the vet service in this community. And that's their business, so they can charge what they want. That's free enterprise. However, a lot of the community can't afford that, and most of that side of the community actually are the ones with the largest pet owners are in town. So that's where the big issues are at. So
if we started.
I wish I had all the answers.
I know.
I'm frustrated because I don't. It's a huge issue, and I don't want you to believe whatever that's put in here that's going to fix our problem, because it's not going to fix our problem.
Yeah.
We're going to keep nipping away at it until we can see some results. I believe we're seeing some results now with the trap neuter vaccinate release program. We're not seeing the numbers that we've seen in the years past. I know we're coming up on that season again, so that may change, knock on wood. But
Is that that's just on cats on that?
that's just on cats. Yeah, we don't want to try to release a dog out there. We've had too many dog bite victims in this community over the last several months. It's been several.
Maybe too, if we can use the fines towards a low-cost spay neuter clinic, maybe the judge would not defer as many cases as he's been deferring, and actually finding them and realizing it's helping the bigger community.
Right, and finding that vet, and right now, We have best friends, they have contacts, those vets are coming in, they're providing these services. But in September, when they stepped out, we meet every Friday, and that's been my concern. What change can we affect in this community with animals that after remote leaves and the group leaves, that we're going to be able to maintain and be proficient at it.
Agree.
I don't want to just throw words at a piece of paper and that's all feel good when we do the roof. I want to be able to affect some change, and really don't know what the answer to all of it is, because a lot of it comes down to dollars. Finding the organizers and the veterinarians that are willing to come to this community and provide these low-cost paramedics. And I know there's groups out there that does it, we need them in here regularly. We need them here 5 days a week doing spay and neuter every day for a year.
Yeah, I was actually
Before we
wondering
can see
that effect.
Yeah.
Yeah, because then,
Because if you did it for 2 years, you could probably pretty much have,
Well, I think Dr. Gutierrez is planning to do, what, 500?
100
100.
with his students.
He's got students coming in. Well, maybe once if we start putting the fines towards, because I'm sure a lot of taxpayers like myself, we have a real problem. I don't want my tax dollars going to fix my neighbor's dog. That's their problem, that's their responsibility.
get a
But if we use the fines that, that are implemented, then that's the people that are breaking the law are basically the ones paying for the care of the animal, so.
This is the most frustrating discussion.
Oh, how many times we brought it up, yeah.
Yeah, and I know there's a lot of people that work very hard. I speak with Ramon, like I said, weekly, Councilman Albertson weekly. Abby answers my callers, I'm a caller. I try to answer her when she calls me. Just trying to come up with ideas and ways to address these issues, and there's no easy answer to it. We gotta figure something out and start heading on the path.
Yeah, I think the biggest issue is, like Ramon said, the education and then the cost. Most of us in here, we have pets, and it's not cheap.
That bill's $2,000.
Yeah. So for now, we'll leave that in, and then, any more comments on that one? I'll see.
Well, fortunately for those of you who have business to conduct after this, everything else here is pretty much cleaning up. Clarifying home impoundment for suspicion of rabies is already in practice. We've just added some language saying that management can reduce or waive fees to save a dog or cat's life or to save taxpayer money. So it's part of a scheme that's designed to lower costs. Similarly with adoption, we can create low or waive fees under appropriate circumstances. This is outside of practice. Instead of apparently a bill of sale is not the preferred language in the animal welfare community. So we're just calling it proof of adoption now. Similarly, this is just not a real change. When it's with practice, it aligns with practice again and with state law. Repeating what we've already repeated, and that's all she wrote.
Yeah, I do want to point out too now that with the microchip requirement, I don't know how many of you are aware, but Animal Services, Ramon and them, they actually microchip now when dogs are adopted at the kennel. They're microchipped and registered right then. Yes, sir.
You all do anything with squirrels or raccoons?
You can feed them to the dogs. They'll be happy.
No, I'm dead serious. Squirrels cause a lot of problems.
Oh, yeah.
But you can't trap it. What are we gonna do with them? To gather them up and take them down to the animal control?
The squirrels too.
Yeah, we should be able to shoot it in a tree.
So are we all okay with the changes we made for him to bring a final version, maybe as an action item next?
Could I make one
I need to reread some of
comment?
that. It's kind of fast.
I would like for you all to at least think about the inclusion of the community cat provisions, because the reason I would like to include it is because I would like to include provisions that would be directed more towards the public who are practicing TNVR without going through the shelter. Because we propose a CCP SOP, but that's only for shelter operations. That's not including anyone in the community who's practicing.
And the reason it's not in here this time is because we haven't seen the report, the results. So I'm just waiting for, I guess the way to say is the proof that it works.
Okay.
So until I know that it's actually working,
Okay.
which I'm sure it is, I mean, I've seen it, you don't have.
There are people in the community doing it, so verbiage on that is probably not a good idea too,
Yeah.
eventually.
Here's some verbiage and just give it to.
Okay.
Yeah, but that's the reason it wasn't in here, is because I'm waiting for the results on that.
Okay.
And
Like
we'll
at the
probably
1 year
go through this a
resolution.
couple
Yeah.
more times before it's done, is that why?
Yeah, I
you don't
just want to
wanna
make
hear
sure.
his Now, I'm talking about this,
Oh,
what we just went through really fast, that nobody could get it all, but. So I'm just saying, will we read it one more time before we vote on it, or that's just? this
no,
is just
next
it?
meeting, we'll.
You want to vote on it next, so I'm just
Yeah.
saying, so if he said he thinks we should include that, that's
Well,
why I said,
If,
some type of verbiage.
well,
But if we wait till this report, we're gonna already be voted on this.
But we can add it later, though.
Oh.
yeah, and like I
Then
said,
what's the rest to vote on it if you can't wait for
Well,
the report?
we're preparing it as if you want to send it. You don't have to if you want to hold it another month.
So he's preparing this as actual complete ordinance at this point, not redlined or anything of the, but he's talking about the TNVR. So,
Yeah, I know what
Yeah.
he's talking about, I know what he's talking about.
yes, sir.
Jared, if I could, real quick, I would prefer that if the ordinance calls for a liquor permit, I would like to see that letter in that. It doesn't have to be a part of the ordinance, but, that stuff's been in here in previous groups or whatever that was over it. Those permits were never established. So then I'm in a rush to the legal department. They did one today for me that I could get out. So I would like to see anything that's required of the public to fill out.
I agree.
Because it's only fair to them. If we're going to say, if we go show up at Walmart and say, you don't have a litter permit or sales permit to sell puppies, and then they walk in the door and say, I'm here for a permit, we don't even have one.
So we need a breeder permit for sure.
So I don't want to put our legal department in that situation or our employees or anybody else. So I would like to see anything that's being required of the public to do, that we're prepared for them to walk through the front door and get that permit.
So we need a breeder's permit, definitely. What about the selling? So at this point, do we need a permit?
We can get some forms together.
Okay, just for selling animals now until we get the business license thing worked out.
That's just my.
No, I agree. Because, yeah, it's hard to require something when it doesn't exist.
It's hard to enforce something when there's.
Yeah. Any more comments? Any from the public? Okay, yeah, so if you can give us a final draft.
Correct.
I took those
Some
changes.
permits too.
Yeah, we need the permits too. Whatever the ordinance is requiring, we need copies of the permits.
It shall be so.
Thank you. Oh, thank you, everyone. Yeah, I'm with Mr. Matthews. It's just, no matter what we do, there's damned if you do, damned if you don't. Yes, sir.
Make it illegal to feed animals. You got all these people downtown that are driving around feeding cats everywhere.
Well,
We caught like 40 or 50 cats in our neighborhood.
I think it's already in the ordinance that it's illegal to feed animals, so it's part of the TNVR. I think they're feeding them.
That they're allowed to feed.
They are allowed.
For the
With that
resolution.
program, they are allowed to feed with that program. That was approved by council.
To trap them, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They've been doing that for more than a year. I'm just telling you, you get cats down and skunks, they all live together. They all eat the same cat food. There's not a few downtown, there's a lot.
Oh, they're all over. He could probably tell you the numbers.
And the thing about cats is when you get them all out there in the neighborhood, I don't think they're as clean as a dog.
Well, the idea with the TNVR is they're not breeding anymore, so they'll start to die off. And as long as there's a cat established there, new cats aren't going to come in. So the population will eventually dwindle down. Is that right?
Right. And they're altered, so there's no more
Yeah, there's-
population. They're rabies vaccinated, they have some kind of medical care.
This is a long-term goal.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why we gave them the year, because trying to prove it in 3 months isn't going to work. Okay. I know a lot of us have to go, so I'm sorry. Moving on. Karen, I think we're doing a monthly reports, emergency management first.
Business as usual. The Skywarn weather spotter class is at 6, so if you're not doing anything, come up to NIMI. The National Weather Service comes in and presents a pretty good class for a couple hours. Other than that, business as usual.
Okay, thank you. That's all I do, dispatch.
Yeah, I hope we take the class.
I'll let you know.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Same for us, not a whole lot of new things. This is National Telecommunicators Week, so if you happen to talk to any of my team, please tell them how wonderful they're doing. We're down 6 people. We lost our one recruit that we had is going back to the PD. We've got one that's due with a baby in May and one that's going to the academy in June. So we're going to be stretched pretty thin and don't have anybody in the pipelines yet, so.
Is it just qualifications or pay or like why?
Combination. The assistant director from Eddy County contacted me the other day. They usually don't have any problems hiring, but they're actually having problems as well. So they're kind of doing a salary thing, and wanted to see kind of what we pay, and they're doing all the surrounding areas. So I asked her when she's done with it if she would share it with me so I can kind of see where they're at as well. If you can share that with us.
Okay, thank you. Fire.
Fire. Well, like Karen said, business as usual. Looking at being down 3 more going to Eddy County. I've heard that they're fixing to hire some more lieutenants and captains positions. So that will almost certainly poach our people, because ours are usually going to be the most qualified people that are going to be applying for a higher level job down there. We had 3 recruit academy candidates. One came to us luckily from Las Cruces, fully certified. He had just graduated from Las Cruces Fire Academy. And so we were able to put him on shift. And then we have 2 candidates in the academy who did really good. They finished their EMT course already, and they've all passed the college's final exam on it. So now they'll be signing up to do their state testing, or the National Registry testing, which is the same as the state testing. And then the last recruit academy group that we had, we got all of them completely certified within 6 months total. So that was good.
But we didn't get to keep any of them. They still, and that makes it still down 6. I mean, down 3.
We're
Down
down
3.
29 positions. We're down 14 drivers right now.
I was going to say, what do you do when you don't have people qualified to be drivers?
Hold on.
Oh.
You don't get to go home.
Yeah.
You stay for 6 days.
So you're down 14 drivers.
And you're working on that with the union? Or we can't talk?
Oh, yes, actually, we can. We were able to get the MOU signed that I proposed to the union to lessen the time requirement that a fireman has to be eligible to take the driver's test. So that group of 13, I got a feeling most all of them are going to jump up and take it as soon as they can get ready for it. I'm hoping.
Yeah. I noticed you got some trucks up for high mileage. Did we still have, because that was a long time ago, we talked about it like 2 years ago, but you have someone here in town that can work on the fire engines? If they go down?
The fire truck?
Mechanic, yeah.
Yes, so we're still under the contract with First Vehicle.
All right. Thank you. Community development. Anyone here for that? No? Okay. She has to leave.
She had to go.
Yeah, she had to leave.
Yeah. Okay, Russell Police Department.
Yes, ma'am, there's not a whole lot of new business. I'm still short-handed, getting more and more worked at a grapevine, not necessarily solidified in any way of more people going to Carlsbad, but we are hearing that there are several more applying. So we're facing a critical situation very rapidly.
Dealing with just be the report. Yeah, it's like we're in trouble. Okay, thank you. And Fire Marshal, he's not here either, right?
First in your packet.
We don't have Toby on here?
This is our first month
Of that new system?
of that new system. They're on their community development page 60.
Oh.
That's code enforcement.
Okay, so this.
State business license, building inspections, everything is listed under.
So you had a lot of weeds.
Yeah, weeds, those guys are working on the weeds right now and taking complaints. Had one officer that was sick all last week. He got some kind of stomach bug and couldn't shake it, told him to stay home. We didn't need that stuff going around.
Yeah.
Business license, she's working on the new, well, all the ones that are coming in, as soon as they come in, she's sending them right out. Trying to keep up with that, and that's, she's getting a little behind, but she's on it. Got her a little bit of help, but it's coming through.
Thank you, everyone. Our next meeting, we're gonna have to move it up. I apologize. Oh, we didn't have animal control in there. Did I miss it? So I don't know if I can see. So I'd like to personally thank Best Friends. They've done so much here, and yeah, like Mike, I'm concerned when they leave because not only have they helped with Ramon and everything, but and the volunteers that you brought in, but financially too, you guys have done a lot. So.
Yeah, for March, we took in 180 animals, 28 coming from the county and 152 from the city. We had 160 animals outcome to adoptions, return owner team, VR. But one thing I wanted to point out was when we were reviewing the data from the entire project from September to March, we actually, yes, there was an increase in dog intakes. So we're actually taking in more dogs than we did the previous year. There's about a 5% increase in dogs that we're taking in. There was an increase from March comparing it to last year. So despite the 2 emergency closures that we had, we are taking in more than we did last year. It is Animal Control and Care Appreciation Week. So this week we're celebrating the officers, staff. We have some social media posts and cool activities planned for them to acknowledge them and highlight them. The department head position was posted. It was rewritten. The job description was totally rewritten and posted yesterday. Right now we just have a vacant kennel worker and animal control officer position. And then the last thing I have are a couple highlights. Facility improvements. There were new outdoor kennels to improve cleaning, new cat cages, portalized so that expands on the room that cats have. And we finalized a workplace culture agreement for the facility. So that was something that I started working on when I got here in January, over a couple months, really working with the team on identifying, defining it. We had the whole team sign it. If you go into the shelter in the lobby, it's there. There's a poster of the workplace culture, and also throughout the whole facility to remind staff. And a community survey was conducted with some good input. It's included in the monthly packet.
Thank you. Okay, questions for anyone? Public. I think of it. Thank you, everyone, for coming and all you do. I know jobs aren't easy, so.
Date.
Oh, yeah, May 8th. Sorry, I do apologize.
What's our next meeting?
Yeah, it's a week early, right?
How come?
So it's
I'm gonna
before
be
the
at a
city
convention.
council meeting, instead of.
It'll be the date before, it's on Wednesday, be the date before the next council meeting.
I have a convention I have to go to.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, everyone, and we're adjourned. And there's a report here from Best Friends if you want to see.
Dismissed.